Hey guys, what's up? It's Blaze here, and we're back for another episode of our action RPG series. We still have what? We still have this section to do, and then we have the next session to do after that. I know it's been a while since I last uploaded. I'm sorry. I'll explain everything in after this video, the next video, and then we have a cleanup video. I'll get you guys caught up on where I am at the moment and all that. So let's just get this done and out of the way first. So in this video, what we're going to do is we are going to set the enemy. I was about to say player. We're going to set up the enemy with all of their sprites and everything so that everything works, or at least everything looks like it should work. And so what we're going to do here, we're going to import some sprites. We're going to mess around a little bit with the enemy objects. Excuse me. And then we're also going to be writing a few scripts. So we're also going to be adding one new script here, but it won't really do anything at the moment. But in any case, let me just check if I'm recording. Okay, great. Awesome. Good. Now, let's get started here. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to add in a new sprite. Now, I'll do one for you guys, just to get you guys caught up on what you have to do. And then after that, I'm going to have you guys do it on your own. So for now, let's just add in the first sprite here that we're going to have. We're going to type in view, enemy, I think it should be direction first, down, and then action, idle. Done. Now for this, I'm going to click edit image, and that'll open us up here. I'm going to go down to the image section, import strip image, and I have here my own image sprites. Now, I did this, I tried to test out what the size of the sprites were because I made these a long time ago, and well, I've figured it out. So if you guys want to use my sprites, you can. I will leave a link in the description below, or it'll pop up in a card somewhere here, but that's it for you guys there. We'll click convert since we have our sprite chosen, and then we just click yes here on this confirmation, and there we have our sprite. Now that's done. We only need the one image for now. We're going to set it to middle center just so that we make sure that everything works fine. And it does, which is good. So that's the first one that we've got here. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys an opportunity to import all of the sprites for your enemies that you're going to use. So that's all the idle sprites, the walking animations, and any other animations that they have. Just import everything into the game now. Okay, so I'll give you guys time to do that. For the rest of this, I'll just cut it out, and so we can just skip onto the important part. So pause the video now and import all of your enemy sprites. Okay, so that took a little bit longer than I wanted it to, and I'm just checking if I'm still recording, and I still am, which is good. So now we have all of our sprites here, which is good. That's what we were aiming for. And as you can see here, we have different names for them, and I hope you've given your sprites meaningful names. It's going to take one ear out. I'm now going to move on to the next section here, which is, I just want to show you guys one thing, and this is the play button here, or the type of animation that we want to view. Now, obviously, when it comes to the death animation, we only want to view it once. And so if we click through, we could click through until it's kind of like the loop icon, but it's not highlighted. So there's highlighted, and it'll just keep playing. And then there's ping pong, which kind of plays it backwards, forwards and backwards, as you can see here. And we've got the last play mode, which just plays it once, and it ends there. So let's set our death animations to these ones here. I'm just going to check if I've done that for all of them. Whoops. So we just want to click through until we have the play just once. And it just makes it more convenient for when we need to check it, just in case we do need to check it, but hopefully we won't have to. So that's all for the sprites now. I hope you've done that, and at the same time, if you've got like a large enemy sprite, you should do that as well. I'm not going to do that for this tutorial series. We kind of don't really need it, seeing as the concepts are more or less the same. So I encourage you guys to go out on your own and try to figure this out for yourself. So let's focus on the one enemy, seeing as the programming for our enemies in this particular game, in this tutorial game, they're pretty much the same. So now that we have that, we're going to go into our objects here. We're going to be working mostly with these objects and are going to do a little bit of scripting, but not too much. So let's first open up the parent enemy object. And here in the create event, what we're going to do is we're going to add in a few new variables. Let me check my notes first, just to make sure that I don't have anything, I don't miss anything. But the first thing that we're going to add in is add a new distance checker. So we're going to call this attack distance. And so obviously this line here will take care, let me just center that. This line here will basically hold in any information for when we should be close enough to be able to attack. So in this case, our default would be, I'm going to set it to 32. Now keep in mind that for me personally, my care distance, I mean, logically speaking, your care distance should be shorter than your attack distance. Or sorry, your care distance should be longer than your attack distance. I mean, that makes sense, that they should notice the player or whatever they're targeting before they start attacking it. So that makes sense to do that. The next thing that we're going to add, and we're not going to implement this in yet, but we just want to have it in now, is the X offset. We're just going to set that to 0 for now, and a Y offset as well. And we're also going to set that to 0. And then we're also going to add in a direction. We're going to set that to down, and action. We're also going to set that to idle. So if you remember from the player programming section, this is what we were doing before. And then of course we need two direction variables. Now this is not, let me just change it to X capital dir. And this is, we're going to actually cover this today, but this is not the same as the direction here. This is something completely different. So I typed in door, and we're going to set that to 0. Okay, so that's what your new create event should look like. We have the new attack distance, we have X and Y offset, which we won't program in today, at least for now. We have a direction and action variables, which again, that controls our sprite, whatever sprite we're drawing. And we have these two mysterious xdir and ydir variables here. We're going to be programming these in later today, or rather later in the video. Let's now go to the step event here. We're just going to add in one extra line here for the step event. And that extra line is pretty simple. We're going to say, what was it? Sprite index. Sprite index equals, or sprite index is view, whoops, wrong one, view, direction, and action. Done. Pretty simple. I hope you guys remember how this works. I don't need to explain it, but basically whatever direction and whatever action we're doing, we're going to draw that specific sprite. I was going to say fright. Now we're going to add in a new event, just one new event here for the parent enemy, and this is going to be shared across all enemies for now. And that is the other animation end, which is at the top here. Okay, so once we add this in, the next thing that we're going to do here, we are going to add in, just like the player, it's almost the same as the players, we're going to add in a switch. Switch, and again, we're going to use action for this. Yes, switch action. Now, we're going to have case idle, and case, I think it's move, yes. We're going to break. We're not going to do anything for those two cases. Let me just open up my macros just so that I know what my macros are. Yeah, okay, great. So the next thing that we're going to do is case, right, case, and we should have a case here for attack. Now I'm going to use the melee attack script, the melee attack macro here, but you can use any attack that you prefer. That's okay. It really, at least at this stage, it won't be anything too complex. And for now, we're just going to let it break. We're not going to do anything else for now. We just want to fill in the skeleton first. We don't want to do anything too complex. And we'll just work gradually. And then we have a case, hurt, course, break. Don't forget to put the breaks in where I'm putting them in, because we don't want any mistakes to happen. And then the last one, of course, is the case death. We're going to break there as well. Okay, so that's the skeleton of it now. Just have a look at that. Pause the video if you need to. Have a look at that and make sure that everything lines up. Now here for the case melee attack, now once the animation ends, we want it to go to state equals, I think it's enemy idle. Idle. Now remember, we want to set it. We don't want to call it. We want to set the state here. And then here for hurt, we're going to write a couple of things here. We're going to say health minus 1 health. For now, we just want to get the functionality working. I know we've already done things like variable damage, so 2 damage, 3 damage, 4 damage, and things like that. But for now, we just want to make sure that it works first. And then again, we need to set the state to enemy idle. And in the case of death, we don't want to set it back to state idle. We just want to destroy the instance. Destroy instance destroy. Oh, done. Okay, so basically once the animation ends, well, it's just going to die there. Okay, so that's done. That's all we need to do for the object of the parent enemy. Now, here in the object collision, I just want to check something here. You see, with this, we don't need this line anymore. Seeing as health equals 0, we just need it to change to state death. That's all we need to do here for the object collision. Well, we want it to play the animation first and then destroy. We don't want it to destroy before it finishes the animation, or before it even starts the animation. So that's the only thing we need to do there for the main object collision parent. And now here comes the really long and arduous part. Where the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to change the view here to enemies. I'm going to do the view enemy down idle. And just like the player, we're going to add in all of the script, the 2D array for the direction and action that we have. So let's open up the player. What we're basically going to do is write up, if we center on the create event, we're basically going to write up this whole thing again. So let's close this out. We don't need the macros at the moment. So let's start here. Let's start with view down idle. And we're going to set that to view enemy down idle, something like that, or whatever name you have. We're going to do that basically for all of them. So view down move equals view enemy down move, view down, oops, wrong one, yep, down attack, oh right, melee attack equals view enemy down attack, and then view down hurt, whoops, equals view enemy down hurt, and then view. Now you can see I'm typing this out manually. I'm not doing any copy pasting, and that's just a habit of mine. Some people like to copy paste. I don't. I prefer not to, just so that I know exactly what's happening. View down death, of course, is view enemy down death. Okay, so I'm pretty sure the rest of this we can edit out just to cut down on time as much as possible. So for this, what we're going to do is basically I'm gonna get you guys to pause the video. I'm gonna skip straight to the next part because the only other thing that we need to do is just do the up direction and the left and right, or the horizontal directions. So I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to pause the video here and then fill out the rest of the directions and actions here. So they're basically all the same. The only thing that we need to do is change the direction. So we need an up set and a horizontal set. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys pause the video here and keep going with that code. We'll cut straight to the next bit. Okay, so now that that's done, the next thing that we need to do is actually we don't really need to do much. The only thing that we need to do now, well, we're done with the object enemy. Actually, we're done with all of the objects that we need to today. Excuse me. We still have to program in the direction. The directions that they're going to face. So unfortunately, we can't do any testing for now. So let's go here into the scripts. And looking at my notes, the first thing that we're going to need is the locate player script. Now here we're going to actually make use of those xdir and ydir variables that we created. So let's have a look again at the parent enemy object here. Here in the create event, we're going to make use of these two variables here, the xdir and the ydir. So right up here at the top, we're going to type in xdir equals sign. Now remember what the sign function does. It gives us -1, 0, or +1. And what we're going to do is target x minus x. And basically what this does is it gets a direction, whether it's -1, 0, or +1, from wherever the target is, minus the actual object's position. And so that's going to give us whatever direction we need to move in. Similarly, with the y direction, ydir, we're going to do the same thing, sign, but this time we target y minus y. Now with this, I hate having a look at the output, even though it's important. With this, it's going to do the same thing as the xdir function, or xdir variable, but this time it's going to do things on the y-axis. Now that that's done, the next thing that we need to do is go into this section here. We're going to add in a new if statement. So if, this time instead of checking distance against the attack distance, less than attack distance, boom, done. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to change the state. State equals enemy attack, I think it is. Enemy attack. Now we haven't created a script for that, so let's just do that now real quickly. Create script, enemy attack. Now that's not going to do anything for now, but let's just close that out because we will need it eventually. We don't need the object enemy anymore. I'm done explaining that. So now it should highlight orange. If it doesn't do that, either you typed something out wrong, or you don't have this script yet. We just made the script just now. So let's keep going with that. If you do get lost, just mention it in the comments below. I'll try to help you guys out as much as I can. Again, my schedule is really busy at the moment, so I don't know how fast I'll be able to respond to your questions, but I'll try to get through to them as quickly as possible. Now, here outside of this else statement, right? So it's not part of it. I'm going to say if xdir is not equal to 0. This is basically our input. So here we're going to say, hey, if it's greater than 0 or if it's less than 0, we're going to do something. And basically what it is, we're just going to type in if xdir equals 1. So basically if it is 1, then image x scale equals 1. Done. And then we're going to say else if. Now the thing with else if is that you can actually say, well, if it's that's whatever's inside here, inside these brackets here, that's going to run. Xdir equals -1. Then scroll down a little bit more for you guys. Then image xScale equals -1. Simple, done. Now, again, let me just elaborate a little bit more on this. With the else if statement, it's going to run whatever you put here. Whereas if we just ran else, it could be 0 or it could be -1. We don't want that to happen. So instead we use else if. Kind of in the same way, we're going to do the same thing, kind of the same thing for the y direction, but we're going to do something a little bit different. So if ydir, keep getting that wrong, ydir is not equal to 0, so if it's not 0, and, right, double ampersand, and if the absolute value, so regardless of whether it's a positive or negative number, it's always going to give us a positive number. If the absolute target y minus y is greater than the absolute value of target x minus x, then we're going to do something inside these brackets. Now you might be wondering, why not just use y direction versus x direction? I tried that in the practice run for this. For some reason it didn't work. So we're just gonna have to live with that. So here we're gonna say image xScale equals 1. So we kind of want to correct its scale, image scale. And then we're just going to do the same thing as the x direction here, but this time for the y-axis. So if ydir equals 1, the difference here is that we're going to change the direction. Direction equals down. Else if ydir equals -1, then direction equals up. So have a look at that. Here we're just changing the scale of the image, whereas here we're actually changing which image we're using, whether we're moving up or whether we're moving down. So that's just something to be aware of. Okay, so that's it for the enemy, the locate player. Wow, I lost my train of thought there for a second. The next thing that we're going to do is go into the enemy idle. Now here we're just going to add in one extra line here, and that is if action is not equal to idle, then we're going to say action equals idle. Done. That's really all it is. This is just a safety net, so just in case something doesn't go back into the idle state, then, or that plays the idle animation, it goes back to that, because we're not actually doing anything here. We're not setting the idle animation anywhere. So that's the first thing that we need to do. So let's close that out. The next thing that we're going to do is say in the enemy wander, in the enemy wander state, we're going to set the action here to move. Action equals move. Done. So pretty simple. Nothing too complex is happening today. And then here in the enemy attack, of course, action equals attack, melee attack. I'm going to use melee attack for that. Okay, so that's all that we're going to do for now. Let's test it out and see what it looks like. Now remember, I don't have a large enemy sprite, so we're going to have to work around that. Let's let it load up. This has been a problem for quite a while now. It takes a while for my machine to actually load up the game. So here we go. Let's move into the next phase. Oh, let's have a look here. Trying to index a variable which is not an array. At object parent enemy step 0, line 10, sprite index equals view direction action. What does that mean for us? Well, what it's trying to do, I get a lot of people getting similar error messages. Usually it's about a missing missing array action, or sometimes they didn't write the array properly. I think it doesn't take spaces here, and I think that's what the problem was, because I had a space. That shouldn't be happening, but if it does happen again, I'll have to have a look into that. So let's hope that this works out well. No, it still doesn't work. Oh, I have a feeling that my... No, that looks right. Down and idle, direction action. It's down and idle. Could it be that my direction and action sprite index? Is it sprite index or is it image index? Oh, I figured it out. So whenever we try to walk into here, what it's actually trying to do is it's actually trying to spawn in. Let me just try and get that error back. Until I get that error back, I think it's not going to happen. Okay, so what's happening here is it's actually trying to spawn a large enemy. I didn't realize that until just now. So if we go here into the field, into the RM field, just double click that, what we're going to do is here, down here in the creation code, we're going to disable this here. We're going to disable this line here. So we're not going to be spawning any big enemies for now. We're just going to be spawning the little guys. And so if we play the game now, I can't believe it took me that long to figure it out, because again, I did a practice run for this and I figured, hey, everything's going to work. That was weeks ago when I did the practice run. So here we go. He's trying to attack me. Now, he's a little bit confused as to where I am in terms of, like, I mean, here in the side here, he should be facing me. Now, why isn't he doing that? It's a little bit of a bug that we have in the game, but we're going to fix that soon enough. Now, you see he's trying to take a little itty bitty steps there. He is walking around. He's got no arms. And if we shoot, he takes damage, and we have the knockback. And then if we shoot again, he takes damage and he dies eventually. So everything works. We do have that bug where he's just kind of like, he doesn't exactly know where we are. We are going to fix that in a later video, but for now we have the essentials of what we need it to do. So hopefully, guys, you understand most of, I know this video was a bit rushed. Actually, it was very rushed, but hopefully you guys understand, or you have the gist of what we are achieving today. If you have any questions, you just leave them in the comment section below. Let me just play the game again. We have this video, and then we have the next video, which is, again, we're just going to be continuing with the enemy programming. And then the last video after that will be a cleanup. So we're going to fix a whole bunch of the bugs that we have, and we're going to fix a whole bunch of other things in the game, as well as what we saw before with the enemy here. He doesn't exactly know where we are, and he's not facing us anyway. So we're going to fix that, and after that, that'll be all that we have. Pretty soon, we should be able to work on something a little bit more solid. And then, so after this video, the next video, the cleanup video, we should have most of the gameplay done. Actually, we should have all of the important gameplay done. After that, I'm going to make a video for you guys just outlining what's happening and what's going to happen in this channel, what's been happening and what's going to happen in the future of this channel. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.